Welcome to the weekend edition of the Fear and Greed Business Headlines. I'm Michael Thompson, and hello, Sean Aylmer.
Hello, Michael.
On weekdays, it's all about the Fast Five, where we go through the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. On the weekend, though, we still, of course, keep it to 5 minutes, but we're going to pick out the biggest story of the week, our favourite story, the sleeper story, which is the one that tends to fly under the radar, and the most remarkable story. So, Sean, let's get into it. What do you think was the biggest story of the week?
Well, I think there's a standout. The meeting between Joe Biden, the President of the United States, and Xi Jinping, the President of China, earlier in the week. The two emphasised the need for cooperation in their first face-to-face summit, which of course was virtual, but it went for 3 hours. It was supposed to go for about 90 minutes. They talked about everything: Taiwan, human rights, trade. There was no specific breakthrough or agreement, but the atmosphere was described as respectful and open. In fact, Mr. Xi called the US his old friend. No one wants to return to the Cold War days. No one wants to return to the Donald Trump days, really. It's just great that the US and China are talking again. Baby steps, I know. Biggest story of the week.
That is a big story of the week. It almost makes me not want to nominate one. I was going to say the biggest story this week was the housing market, the fact that there's a bit of a shortage of buyers at auctions that might have come off the boil a bit. All the regulators are watching it really closely to see if further intervention is needed. But you know what, Sean? I'm going to give it to you. You've got the biggest story this week. Most remarkable. What was it for you this week?
For mine, it was Commonwealth Bank's share price dropping 8% in one session. Commonwealth Bank for a long time has been everyone's favourite bank, biggest bank in the country, biggest company in the country, but they came out this week and said profit margins were being squeezed. They didn't say by how much, but investors hate it when profit margins are being squeezed. Now, the share prices of the other banks, National Australia Bank, ANZ and Westpac, also reacted. They fell as well. Over the past 12 months, the banks have outperformed the index. But with this squeeze on margins, I just fear that the banks may struggle a little bit going forward. That's my most remarkable story.
Okay, well, my one, I picked it as the most remarkable the moment it emerged on Wednesday morning. Nobody's really liked handling cash during the pandemic, but apparently, according to the Reserve Bank, the value of Australian banknotes in circulation has doubled in a decade, shot up by 20% since the start of the pandemic, and apparently people are hoarding it. There's somewhere in the vicinity of $50 to $75 billion stashed away in people's houses. They think it's probably better off there than in the bank because of low interest rates. There's a bit of security in having cash. The cash economy is still kicking despite warnings of a crackdown from the tax office. Just that $75 billion figure makes it, for me, the most remarkable story.
Yeah, fair call. Remarkable.
Now, sleeper story, what's your pick?
Well, National Australia Bank this week came out and said it will discount home loan interest rates for customers, reducing household emissions. Climate change has hit home lending. NAB is part of an alliance of global banks, which includes lenders from the United Kingdom, Canada and Italy. That alliance is backing a home sustainability rating tool developed by a company in Adelaide known as Greenhouse. Basically, Greenhouse helps householders set up smart meters and install solar and batteries. This is a totally new front in home lending. If you can show you're going to reduce your emissions and you bank with National Australia Bank, you could end up paying less for your home loan. That is my sleeper story for the week.
Yeah, it's a good one. My sleeper story was really only a sleeper in Australia. In the US, it's big news. It's about the explosion in the value of the electric vehicle companies beyond Tesla. So I'm talking about Lucid and Rivian. Rivian's market cap is now greater than Volkswagen. Lucid's is bigger than Ford. Neither of them are even available yet in Australia. So that's why I think that's a bit of a sleeper story, but I do like yours.
Fair enough. Now, on to our favourite story. Michael, what's yours?
Well, I've actually grouped a couple of stories together. I'm a bit of a plane nut, so I really like these ones. First, a story out of Airbus. There's been pretty lean sales during COVID, but the manufacturer reckons about 39,000 new aircraft will be sold in the next 20 years. That is pretty incredible demand, and the real focus is going to be on lower emissions planes. But if you're not really into commercial flights, if it's been a bit kind of patchy trying to get a flight during the pandemic, then maybe you can do what so many other people are apparently doing, which is take a private jet. 4.2 million private jet flights have taken place this year. These are numbers out of the US, but really it seems to be becoming a little bit more accessible, a little bit more affordable. Certainly not for me yet, though.
I can't beat that. I think that's my favourite story too.
Well, I'm glad we came together there at the end. There we go. 5 minutes and pretty much everything you need to know in the world of business. Well, the important stuff anyway. Thank you very much, Sean.
Thank you, Michael.
We'll be back on Monday morning with the top 5 business stories in 5 minutes. I'm Michael Thompson, and we look forward to your company then.